I'm Phyllis.
I'm Mike.
And I'm Audrey.
And you're watching Word of Mouth.
We need a new paper, not long-winded and expensive like you've been doing. A cheap rag, easy to smuggle, coming out once or twice a month.
Exposing abuses, naming names, yes, a popular press. What will we call it? I was waiting for you without knowing it.
It feels better than I thought it would, because after, the commitment of the first two parts and learning as I went, because I wasn't as deep in the material, and there was a lot of material, this part really was a payoff.
It feels good to have reached the end of the trilogy. You finally have closure on the characters and you understand what we were building towards with parts 1 and 2.
Well, to be honest with you, when it ended, I cried. I really did, because it's over and it was so wonderful. What a great show.
It actually became cohesive. I understood what was going on and it made a lot of sense, and it was very poignant. The points that were made and that came together all in this piece really were highlighted.
This one gives you some closure. It brings you to actually almost to the end of Alexander Herzen's life. Talks about his mishaps and the things he did and how he felt, and he kind of ends up by saying, I think, something that really made sense. He kind of said, you do the best you can in the time you have in an imperfect world. And that's really what he was trying, I think what he was trying to say all along was, never going to get to Utopia. It isn't going to happen. So all you can do is the best you can do.
This part was different in that, well, there was a lot of comedy in this part, and it also felt like there were many short segments as compared to the first two parts, where each scene lasted in one locale for a longer period of time and different characters were introduced.
It seems like a true story. It seems like it's real life. It acts like it's real life. It's rich, it's full, it has so much in it. It's not just your la-di-da, have a good time. Makes you think, you learn something. Certainly learned a lot about Russian history.
Character-wise, I thought it was a little mashy. You had Martha Plimpton's character come in and become Herzen's lover, with her husband still in the picture there and accepting of it. They're having children. There's, it was very all over the place, and it really didn't matter or make the story. It was sort of this little frill stuff that was going on. Didn't mean anything to me.
Michael Bakunin was played by Ethan Hawke, and he aged beautifully. We saw, in the beginning, we saw a young, enthusiastic man, and at the end of the third portion of it, we saw an older man who was just as enthusiastic.
You always know when Ethan Hawke was on stage because he's always screaming and stomping his feet, which is entertaining and definitely serves the part that he was supposed to play, but you always knew when he was there.
I think Brian O'Byrne still. He really, he still had he really led it, anchored it, pulled it through, in and out. All the characters came and went through him again.
It's a long journey, but I felt like it was a fruitful journey, and I learned a lot about the theater. I learned a lot about what I enjoy about the theater, and I learned a lot about what theater has to offer, because I don't know if I would have gone to see this on my own, but it's definitely a worthwhile experience.
The first play I thought was a little confusing. The second one kind of gave you some real deep insight into what was going on. And the third part put the finishing touches on it, brought us to a nice closure for the actors.
Part 1 I found difficult to get into. It was a lot of philosophy talk. Part 2 I found very manageable. There was more comedy. It was more about relationships between people. Part 3, like I said, was more closure. It also had a lot to do with politics and passing on of one's beliefs to his children, and to see if that would then carry on to what his children did when they grew up.
It really was necessary to see the 3 parts. After all, the people saying, no, you could go see 1, you could go see, you really needed to see the whole story, So that part of it, I feel like I saw something that won't come this way again, at least not for me in my lifetime.
It's a once in a lifetime. I don't think I've ever seen anything like it before. It's just exciting to be a part of it. Now, I know people are saying it's boring. I think there was something in the Times about it. All right, I've said it, it's boring. I didn't think it was boring. I was very enthralled with the whole thing.
this was the thread that pulled everything of the first two pieces into it and really climaxed it and finished it. It was great.
I would definitely recommend it. I would not recommend seeing it as the marathon. I think that's a big bite to take out of the theater and too much to digest in one sitting.
But I would go see this again. And I know the story because I've read the play. I would go see it again. I really enjoyed it.
Perhaps we can save the bell by publishing a French edition. And in Geneva, there's hundreds of exiles from Russia now.
You'll be nearer Tata and Sasha. We can all be happy again. And what's there in England that you'll miss?
Coleman's mustard.